Hello and Happy New Year! And welcome to the Friday coloring live stream. Welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me today. It is the first live stream of 2024 and the first live stream in about 6 months. It's been a while. I always say that. I feel like it's every time big lengths of time in between my live streams, but been getting a lot of work done. I've been working on my comics, but before I get into that, I just want to first say that my name is Jessica Vanderpaul, and I'm a comic book artist. If this is your first time to my channel, I am the writer and artist of InterStella, Space Angel, this lovely little graphic novel right here. And you can read this comic on my website. This particular printing has some bonus features in the back, and I will at some point be making this available to buy. But in the meantime, you can read on my website. So yeah, today I'm just going to be working on actually my next comic called InterStella, Out of This World. And that's what I've been working on for the last 6 months. I mean, really a lot longer than that, but I've been really excited. I've been making a lot of progress on it. I've been getting a lot of the inks laid down. And today I figured that'd be nice just to get some of the flatting, the flat colors on one of the pages. So it's been a while since I've done some of the coloring, and it'll be nice just to hop back in and just say hi to whoever shows up. And if you watch us afterwards, then you can get a little sneak peek into what it's like to create comic pages. But if you're here live, please feel free to hang out in the chat, comment. I'm guessing I'll be working for about an hour-ish. We'll see. We'll play it by ear. But do let me know if the quality is pretty bad, like if it's pretty pixely. I have had some issues with that in the past. I'm hoping today will be a bit better. If the volume's bad, I might be playing some music in the background. I'll kind of figure that out. So just let me know in the chat. I'll do my best to answer the chat. I'm not, I'm going to be pretty focused. So sorry if I don't get to your comments as soon as I can. But also let me know if I'm muted. I did that one time and I checked and it looks like everything is good, right? Yeah, so my audio should be working. Oh, but yeah, I was doing a live stream one time and I was like talking for 10 minutes and someone piped in and they're like, "You're muted." It happens. So without further ado, I think I covered it all, but I'm going to go ahead and let that run. Okay, I'm going to pull up my screen share. I'm going to be working on the computer today. So give me 1 second. And oh boy, let's see. Well, I had it a minute ago. For whatever reason, Photoshop is having some trouble being recognized by StreamYard. Of course, it worked, a minute ago when I did it, and now it's like not so much. Well, there are other ways of doing this if I need to. Man. Oh, what I see in the comments, Madness Comic Network. Hello, and welcome. Happy Friday. Happy New Year. Happy everything. I'm trying to share my screen. Photoshop. Has anyone else noticed issues with Photoshop lately? I feel like in the last few years, it's just been very glitchy. Maybe not very glitchy, but I've noticed it's been a lot more unreliable. Okay. I know. Oh my goodness. I think it was 2 years ago since I was doing the campaign, the InterStella campaign. No, guys, that's 3. That was 3 years ago. It was 2021. The new year will always get you. Okay, well, you know what? We're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. I'm just gonna have to share my screen Oh, thank you so much. Here, he said, can I show it? Ooh, oh, wait a minute. Sorry, it's been a while. Love the book. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support. That really means so much to me. I think I starred something. I'm going through StreamYard, and they have so many new features now. So it's very exciting, but I'm kind of like, whoa, what's this? Okay, I'm just going to have to share. Let me try this out. This is going to get a little crazy. Oh, it actually does show it. No, don't want to show that. Okay, fine, Photoshop. Be that way. We're going to try this. It's going to go like, whoa, crazy. And then I'm going to have to do this. Okay, 1 second. Sorry about that. Luckily, I'm not going to be on, Photoshop that much right now. I'm just going to be isolating my line art. So then I can switch over to Clip Studio, where I do most of my work. Okay, so yeah, so this is one of my pages from InterStella, Out of This World, and we have a lovely scene of the International Space Station, or at least a variation of it. It's not one for one, because one for one is just so much detail, and it becomes visually distracting and overwhelming, and it takes away from the story. Also, it's very, very hard to draw. So I did use a model that I found online, and I posed it and traced over it, added some things, took away some other things, and Bob's your uncle. Yeah, so this is what I have. What I did is I compiled this, and I made the drawings, put it into Photoshop, and sort of patchworked it together. And then I took that image, turned it all blue, except for all the lines blue, printed out on an 11 by 17. In fact, here it is. Here, I'm going to show. I wonder if I could do this. Okay, yeah. So it's a little dark, but very dark. Anyways, but this is what it looks like. So, yeah. So there's that. And actually, what's really interesting, I kind of forgot about this. On this side is the very first. It's a little hard to see, but you can see the space station is nothing. I was just kind of making stuff up, and I was looking at this being like, you know what? This is not, I mean, obviously it looks so much nicer, but yeah, so I was like, I actually have to figure out what I'm drawing here and base it off of the real thing. So anyways, so this turned out a lot better. And so the reason I print in blue lines is it helps me to isolate the inked lines so much better. So what I need to do now, let's see. So I'll go ahead and just walk you through it. Yeah, so we have our background, channels. It's really easy. I'm not going to do a whole tutorial. I'll just kind of walk you through it. All you have to do is click blue. So it's a specific blue. It's it's called non-photo blue, and you can find the hex number for it online. But yeah, you click that off, and look at that. It's gone. Now whoa, that's not right. Let's try that again. Come on. There it is. Okay. So you will notice that it's actually not too bad here. There might be still some ghost lines you can kind of see here. Oh, you know what? I just realized I'm not sharing my all this stuff. You're like, that's great. We can't see it. Let's try this again. I'm glad I looked over. Let's go smaller. There we go. Okay. So sorry, as I was saying, so here it is, and we're in layers, go over to channels, and all I have to do is just click blue right there. So it disappears. And as I was about to say, is you can still see some ghost lines here, but we're going to blast those out of existence in a bit. Okay. All right, good. I'm glad you can actually see it now. Yeah, so now what I do is I turn it into grayscale image, discard channels, and what I might do is I'll make sure, I'll make a copy of it. So that way, if something happens, I can do that. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my levels. And if I take this little slider and bring it over, you'll notice the white's getting a lot brighter, way overexposed if you're bringing it that way. And if I were to grab this slider and bring it over, the darks become a lot darker. So we're basically going to meet these in the middle. And they're still, yeah, okay. Basically, kind of like with the darks, you want to get to a point. I don't know if you can see it. Ooh, let's try this. You can see a little better. Okay, a smidge better. Yeah, so you kind of will notice when you start losing detail. And it's sort of a go by feel. And I am going to definitely have to do some cleanup here. So some lines can't really be blasted away without, you know, I'm just going to have to do some cleanup. Let me just check in this window. Okay. One other thing to note is check to make sure your monitor is not set to be overexposed, too bright, because I've done this before. And then if I move my window over to my other monitor is set a lot less contrasted colors, a lot less bright. And so actually a lot more grays and that didn't get blasted out will suddenly appear. So I like to check it on 2 windows. It seems all right on my other window. Oh, sorry. You're like, I forget again. That's Clip Studio back there. It looked very similar. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So some of this stuff we'll just have to clean up, and I won't clean it up perfectly because you know what, color's going to go in it, and I'm going to put some kind of texture on the comic page. It just makes it look less polished and sterile. So it's, yeah, it actually just adds some a human touch to it, which, wow, has that not been the topic of conversation over the last year and a half? Yay. All right, so here we are. I think that's pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go image mode back to RGB. And the reason I go to grayscale, whether or not it makes a difference, is when I use my levels, I don't want any color interfering with that. I want only the grayscale affected. Whether or not that makes a difference, in my mind it does. I'm just going to click Don't Merge. So now, as you see in my channels, I have my color back. And before I go there, I'm going to go back to Layers, add a new layer. I'm going to drag it underneath. Remember, this is the bottom one. Here, I'm going to say Backup or Original Scan. Okay. And here, I'm going to flip my colors, and I'm going to fill this with white. So even if I remove this, you see the white backdrop. Because with this, now we're going to go over to channels. We're going to, I believe it's Control, what is on a Mac? I'm sorry, I can't think of it. Command, something. Click, hold down that button, and then you click on RGB, and you'll see the little marching ants all over your lines. And then it's just Control-Shift-I. It inverts that selection. And so now if I hide this layer, you can see all that. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to make sure my color is set to black because I want my lines black. And I just have to click. And there they are. And so the cool thing with that, let's deselect. You can see they are transparent now. It is so wonderful. And it's great because you don't have any of that yucky looking white underneath. So if you were to, see if I color, like there's no white. It's all varying levels of black, even to the point where you can see kind of that stuff right there. So yeah, so that's how I isolate my line work. And okay, so now I'm going to call these lines. And I'm going to go ahead and save this. So I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to transfer over to Clip Studio. So let me give me a second here. I am going to switch my stream. Actually, I'm just going to quickly save this right now. So we're going to go ahead, save it as something. There is, yeah, I guess we'll do that. So Clip Studio is like Photoshop. It's similar in many ways. I like it. I find it more intuitive for the comic artists. And I'm going to, and the nice thing is Clip Studio can open up PSD files, Photoshop files, but Photoshop does not open Clip Studio files, at least last time I checked. Right, so now I should be able to share Clip Studio. Oh, look. Hey, it works. Hey, Photoshop, you could learn a thing or two from Clip. Sorry, snarky. Okay. Get some water. Okay. So I'm actually going to just copy. This was what I saved. I'm going to copy that layer and I'm going to slap it into, this is a file I had already set up for this page. And if I were to hide this, this is my mock-up here. So very, very rough. You can kind of see the model that I used. I slapped in some colors to get a rough idea. Those word balloons are super rough. Don't judge me too harshly on the notes I put in there. It's more to get an idea of the beats and the rhythm of what the characters are saying. And then later I actually go back and script and refine what they say. So I think I have like Roger Delta, blah, 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 blah. And like, would they ever say that? Probably not. But at least it gives me an idea that, you know, this character speaking and then this character responds. And this is where the word bubbles live. Because when you were doing a comic page, you have to remember the word bubbles are a part of the image. This is a lesson I had to learn. I was just making these beautiful images. And then when I turn them into a page, it's like, where do I put these word bubbles? So they are part of the image and they definitely need to be thought into the page. All right, so that is that mock-up there. Okay, so these are my lines. I have this little frame here. Basically, these are my trim marks. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. And the frame shows me, I can make it opaque, but it shows me actually where the cut will be. This little inner box is called a safe zone. So I have to make sure that all my word bubbles and important elements stay within that box. And then anything beyond that, like this is the trim line where it will actually get trimmed. And then I have bleed, of course, that when you bring it to the printer, you have to create more artwork that they will cut off. It's not a lot, but I think I even have more than what they typically call for, but I'd rather have a little more margin for error than too little. And then everything beyond that is just the rest of the paper. So I actually did a lot of drawing beyond this. Let me see this. Wow, look at that. It really does cut it off, but that's fine. I made sure that my important elements, like the bottom part of this wingling thing, whatever that is, make sure that it is included. It's a little on the edge of the safe zone, but it's good enough. Okay, so man, oh man, it's been so long. Ooh, I have, so sorry, you're gonna have to bear with me. I'm gonna take a moment to feel like, how do I do this thing again? All right, so I'm gonna first set my lines. This is a nice thing about Clip Studio is I can color those layers. So at a glance, It makes it a lot easier to navigate. Flats. Let's give flats as red. I'm going to give lines a copy. I'm just going to, stick it down here for now. Okay, there we go. And it's going to stay down there just in case. It's nice to have a backup. All right, so I have some corrections I need to do. I'm just going to remove the frame right now. I'm trying to figure out how much. So basically, I do have a little bit of cleaning up to do. I should get rid of some of these ghost shadowing. That's I'll probably leave some of it, but anything that kind of looks like it's a distracting element, I'll probably clean up a bit. Don't mind that sound. That is my art director, aka Kat, that's trying to get in the room. But she's been relegated outside because she is too fidgety right now. So maybe I'll let her in a minute and I'll probably regret it. But yeah, this ink job that I did like a year ago. So part of me is like, oh man, what was I doing? What was I thinking? Okay, so I'll just start by selecting some of these, and I'm honestly just cutting. And in case, if you're hearing this little clicking button thing, I'm using a gaming pad. So I have all my short keys cued to this. So when you see me making those circles, I'm really just selecting and cut. I'm not needing to paste anything. So I'm doing some of this garbage that kind of got included and didn't get blasted away. Okay, we'll grab a little eraser here. And I'm actually going to put the opacity all the way up to 100. But it has a bit of a softer, sketchy edge. Yeah, and I actually even see, look at that, there's some ghost lines from the trim marks. I think the color, so I'm using a blue called non-photo blue for my lines. And I think, when it prints out, the printer has to use a combination of inks, and it's not perfect. And I think that's why it still gets a little bit of visibility in there. So I might have to practice making sure, like you can just kind of play around with what color blue best erases, or you can best remove it in Photoshop. And honestly, I'm guessing Clip Studio probably does do that function now. I started with Photoshop, so that's what I am still quite familiar with. And I do use both programs for different things. Photoshop does have the more powerful editing portion, because that's what it was originally made for, was for thinking stuff at the same time. For Photoshop, like photo editing. So that was its forte. Clip Studio is more designed for artists and color mixing. I know, in my opinion. Okay. I'm not gonna worry about all, having it perfect. I'm trying to be a little better at not obsessing over the perfection. Again, everything is showing up so much more because it is on a white background, but it's gonna be colors. It's gonna be, well, that was a little weird. It definitely will help disappear a little bit. And I think having a little bit of the softer, fuzzy, sketchy edges just makes it look a little more natural, not as not as sterile, I guess. I see a lot of stuff that comes out of Clip Studio. I see it a lot on Webtoons, and some of these things, it's fine. It's just a style of comic that comes out, but it just feels so perfect that it takes me out the story, and my brain can't focus on the story because it's just, everything is so sterilized and no problem. buildings are perfectly straight, and we don't really see that in real life. And that's why I still prefer inking this by hand and giving it a human element. All right. And I can always go back and clean up a little bit more later. But this is usually the part that I turn on a, whatchamacallit? I turn on a podcast or an audiobook, or usually a podcast. I'm usually listening to something, kind of a brainless part. And that's the nice thing about flatting, what I'll be doing today, is it does not require a lot of brain power. And that's why I'm able to talk with you right now, because normally I would, forget it. I need my full brain if I'm drawing, and honestly, a lot of inking too. I have very limited capacity to do anything else. And I'm probably going to clean up more of that later, but I kind of want to get the biggest. It looked like I started putting texture in here. So let's see, pull up a reference. I have 3 monitors, so that's why I'm like looking over here and looking over here and like looking over here. There's a reason I have 3 monitors, because I kind of accidentally broke one. So then I had to get a new one. I know why I added texture here. Okay, so I think that was an intentional design. I think it needs to be added down here later, but I'll probably pipe that in later. Okay. It's funny to me. I mean, I like to watch the reels whenever I see a nice Instagram process of painting or doing something. You see these artists laying down these beautiful strokes of paint, and you're like, wow, that's gorgeous. And I'm like, the reality, that's expectation. But reality is most of this work is just like cleaning up lines, at least in my experience. But I'm also not an Instagram artist per se. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'll probably definitely have to do, I can leave that. Oh man, I don't know if you can hear that. Cat going meow. She has been very up in my business. Whenever I've been working at the computer, she's willing to sit right in front of me. But you know what? This is kind of a boring part anyways, so I'll risk it. You hear it? Come on. I know. Oh, yes. Welcome to the area. Leave that open a crack. Hi. Oh. This is raining. Like a rainy day. And you need to go take your nap. I feel like you're a small child right now. Like, you just need to go down for a nap. Okay. She's actually really good when it comes to not messing up any of my art or painting. So I do a lot of watercolor as well. And she's really good at, right? You are really, oh my goodness. Watch me eat my words. She is typically really good at not getting into my paint or knocking things over. She's not one of those cats that like knocks things over. She's very dainty. But today I made, before I scanned this in, I made like a little whiteout correction, and it was still drying. And of course she comes and just like sits right down on it, and like her paw right in the whiteout. I'm like, really? That's, I actually kind of knew. Like, normally I'm pretty good at not doing that, but when you work with watercolors, they dry pretty fast. So it's not like some paints, acrylic or, oil, but I don't know if anyone who works on oil on a flat surface, oil paints. Ooh, look at all this stuff. Whee. So we're going to select it with our little lasso. And all right. Ooh, this is the part where it's very grody. Oh, look, you finally went in your basket. She has a little basket in the corner, hangs out with me. Let's see. Hey, we have some people joining us. Hello, welcome. So good to see you guys. Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm happy to see you guys too. It's so fun to see some regulars popping in. So thank you for joining me. Yeah, it's, I really tried, and I think you guys know, because I was trying live streaming in the summer. I was trying to get into it. And oh my goodness, I was running into so many problems. And it was all about like the visual appearance. It was so horribly pixelated. I think I still have one or two of those live streams. I haven't taken them down. Like they're on my channel, and if you look at them, there are times in that live stream where it's like a puddle of pixels. And you're like, what is going on? We even upgraded our internet. We have decent upload speeds and everything. I was doing Restream for a while, and I was recording in the highest resolution I could. And it seemed like no matter what I did, it was still there. So the only thing I could deduce is that it was the time of day, and that even regardless of me having my high upload speeds, I was streaming at like 3 p.m. And again, this was in the summer, so maybe like kids were out of school and like on the computers and using your devices, and maybe just in the neighborhood we're in, it was still not good bandwidth, I guess. Is that the right word? Yeah. So I don't know. It was really, really frustrating. So I kind of was like, you know what? I cannot keep putting time into this. I need to actually get my work done. So I'll figure it out later. But it's a brand new year. It's one of the reasons I'm actually streaming earlier, to see if it is good. So far, I mean, please tell me if it's like awful. I have a little cheat. Oh, it looks good, I think. And that was the hardest thing, is like I couldn't tell. It was very difficult to tell. So I have my stream pulled up on my phone, so I could kind of tell from a different source if it was actually okay or not. And it was like okay, but had like my mom was watching, and she would like text me and be like, oh man, I can't, it's so bad. And I'm like, what? It looks good on my screen. I just couldn't figure it out. And I was like, oh, what a headache. No one says when you're an artist and you have to wear all these hats too, being techie and troubleshooting. Wine. Grape. All right. Okay, this is a little dirty still, but I can go back in and kind of clean this up more. Oh, this could probably get cleaned up a smidge. It's kind of nice to try and get a lot of this done right now, because I don't want to forget about it. Okay, I'll clean up this area. And I did see, I forgot to put in a line there. So, oh, that's so sweet. Pops Van Zant, if you want to run your show out of the studio, you can produce for you. Oh, you can just drop. Thank you. Maybe we'll see. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, he has a whole Madness Comic Network. It's in the name. I know, because you know why? It's been 3 years ago. How has it been 3 years ago? I can't get over that. Oops. No, I'll let you know if I do. I need to figure out just a rhythm first of live streaming. But I think if I get more in the habit of this, I'll be able to. My hope is to do a little bit more with that. So live streaming is fun, and I do it honestly because I like to hang out and see people. Being an illustrator can be isolating, depending on what kind of illustrator you are and just your setup in your life situation. So I work from home and I love it. I enjoy it, but, and I claim to be an introvert, but I also, we introverts, I actually do like being around people too. It is helpful. So it's not like I hate people. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. But it is definitely tricky to accomplish certain things. Like right now I'm able to chat because I'm doing a mindless task, but most of comics, I'm really using a lot of creative thinking and energy. And so that does have to come first. And then when I do have opportunities that require a little less focus, then I can actually live stream and chat and hang out. And I'm hoping to actually live stream with other artists too. I wasn't really going to promote this too much because I wasn't sure how this is going to be. And I'll actually really know when I go back and watch this later. I want to make sure it actually was decent and working. Let's do this. But I'm hoping to do some more time lapses as well. I'm kind of working on a couple videos, more just doubling up on the content that I already have instead of trying to create too much more new stuff, because my focus is making comics and not being a YouTuber. And kind of have to, at least for me, I really have to choose one. So if I can sort of double dip in other areas, cool. But comics comes first. Especially at this rate that I make them. My goodness, it takes so long. Okay. I had a note. I'm trying to figure out how much I really want to do this, or I might just do this later. There's a note that I wanted to move like this over because the gap is too big here. It's not terribly noticeable. Now there is a bit of foreshortening going on. This one's a little bit bigger than this one. It's a little nitpicky maybe, but I think for the sake of the video right now, I'm going to start flatting. Normally I fix all my line work, make sure it's all ready to go, and then flat, but I think I'm just going to jump into flatting right now. Sometimes going for the larger, most high yielding task is more beneficial. As I see progress start to emerge on a page, it's just more mentally beneficial than like if I spend all my time noodling little details and it's all perfect and ready and then I work on it. I could spend a couple days doing that. Whereas if I get the main bulk done and then I can go back and kind of wrap up loose ends and make faster progress. So let's see. Okay. Aha. Guess what? We're going to save. Save. Oh, and tea. I poured up all this delicious tea. I haven't drinking any. Divine. It's good tea. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. I already had my coffee this morning. So coffee first, then tea. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start coloring flatting. So two parts flatting, at least this is how I've been doing in the past. I could change. Flatting is basically getting my base colors down, just flat colors. And then once that is done and I have the colors adjusted, the right hue, then I will go in and basically shade and add effects and all that stuff. So there is, you can see it. There's supposed to be, there is an earth back there. You just can't see it yet. That's something I will be working on later. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that digitally or do it traditionally. So one of the reasons I think I decided to do that later is because that way I can cut, instead of like, here, I'll actually show you. It's easier to show and explain. So, where do we go here? Okay, so on here, you can kind of see the little, backwards, there we go. The earth, just a hazy little line. So if I were to draw this all in, I don't have my other example page, but if I were to draw this all in, then I would have to, if I want to color the earth lines, like the lines itself, maybe like a bluish color. I don't want them to be the most dark, bold lines, because this is our subject. That's supposed to fall, the background is supposed to fall to the background. And so it's easier to do that if it's on a separate layer. But if I were to draw it all together, that means then I have to go in and select, go in between all these little areas and select just a background and then color those lines. So it's not impossible, but another way of doing it is just drawing the background on it digitally, or even on here, superimposing it, erasing it, where the subject comes on top. We'll see. But for now, okay. How do I do this again? All right. So one thing I'm going to do, I'm looking at this right-hand side for my lines. I'm going to grab black, micron pen. Okay. Ooh. Oh, the stabilization is up to like 20. We're going to put it up to like, I don't know, 8. Oh, sorry. Did the thing again. Okay. So yeah, stabilization is in this corner. And basically, if you're like trying to draw a line, it takes some of the wiggle out. So if I have the stabilization up really high, it just kind of smooths everything out. It's good at certain points and hinders some in others. So for right now, I'm going to, so see how it all kind of like clips off here where it doesn't actually meet the end of the page. Check my trim lines. All right, for right now, it always drives me nuts how gross it looks up close, but you know what? We're not going to be looking at it up close. I'm going to hold that line, and all that does is it kind of caps it off. That's going to be cut off anyway, so I don't really care what happens outside of this area right here, anything over here. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. And you might see what that does. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to go like that, capping everything off. Capped. That can go there. That's fine for now. Okay. And I know I got to still pipe that little line in. I'll do that later. Okay. Make sure it's not a lot of work. All right. So the first things I want to do is I want to make sure all my tools are aliased. So let's show. So for those of you who don't know what aliasing is or anti-aliasing, you usually see something called anti-alias. In fact, if you can see, it's right here. It says anti-aliasing. I have a little brush and it kind of like, you go really up close. See how it sort of has these little gray pixels in there? It's almost like a smoothing effect. So it's not harsh pixels. It fades into gray. But if I choose aliasing, so this has none, the same line has just the same black, white pixels, nothing in between. And that's what we want for flats. We don't want anything that creates an anti-alias line. And that goes for the lasso, that goes for eraser, that goes for even the, like this square box. Okay, it looks like that is already set to anti-aliasing. And the reason for that, in a nutshell, is when you create your flats, I'll try to give a 30-second explanation, at least of what was taught for me, what I learned. When you create your flats underneath your line art, you don't want any between colors. You don't want any of that white garbagey line. And so if you have two anti-alias that smooths between those colors, it's going to create that white garbagey line. But two colors that are separated by an alias line, just the straight pixels, no transition, create a nice, crisp transition. And I think a lot of that has to do whether or not it's still relevant, but when you go and bring it to the printer, if those colors slip a little bit, it's no, maybe it's more the selection. It has to do with like if the colors slip a little bit, you're not going to accidentally see potentially like the white blurred crappy line underneath. Also, it just allows for a one-to-one selection. So I know that wasn't the best explanation. Maybe I'll do a video of it later, or just go Google it. And maybe they didn't do anything. Okay, so let me set everything at the alias. We're going to go to just a simple hard ground, set that to anti-alias. Now I have two lassos. I have my lasso, like this one. Set that, and oops. And then I have my, sorry, oh my goodness, going back and forth. There it is. Polyline, also known as a polygonal one. Okay. And it's important, I'll just give a quick little show. First of all, I'm going to lock my lines layer because I don't want to be coloring on my lines layer. Done this before, and it's aggravating. It's also a reason why I'm going to create another backup just in case. Okay. Where's the lock? There it is. All right. So now I can't, as a little red arrow on it, can't draw on it. Okay. Flats. All right. That's where I want to live for now. So if I were, let's say just red, let's just throw red. So you see that harsh line. And we're going to go for the lasso. If I do that and fill it in with blue or whatever, see how perfect and pixelated that is? That's what I want. Now, if my line was not, if it was anti-alias, I'll just quickly show you and make sure I turn it back. Let's do that and color in with green. Oh, bum, 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 bum. Yeah, I don't want that. When I go to select, so sometime, sorry, I also have to take off area scaling right now. Okay, let's try this. Sorry. Okay, try this again. So see when I go to select this, it doesn't actually select these transition pixels. And that can create problems online. So instead of like causing these weird misaligned colors, it's just easier to have it in black and white or in blue and red. Keeps it simpler. Life is complex enough. Let's just keep things simple. Okay, so I'm checking, make sure everything is on anti-alias. Because then if I've done things all on, sorry, I want it on alias, not anti-alias. So I've done things on anti-alias before and I had to go back and redo it all. So, okay. So now what I'm going to do is, so a lot of people I see will, I don't know, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. Will like go in and your flats layers on your lines, I'll go in and just start coloring and like la 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 la. That's great. And I will do parts of that, but that's a lot of time on something like this. Even I will use the lasso tool and trace it like this. And I will be doing part of that. But the first thing I'm going to try doing, knowing that I filled in, and again, if I remove the lines, it's alias, is doing a magic wand selection. And I almost forgot this magic wand. 1 second. Oh, good. So it is unchecked, the anti-aliasing. So I also have to set the magic wand for anti-aliasing. So you have to check everything. And actually, before I go and start this, I am going to sharpen my line art a bit. So I'm going to unlock it. Oh, is it not going to show it? Oh, maybe. This is on full strength. Okay, so you just, I don't know if you can see that. It's a little noticeable. So I'm kind of going back and forth to show the before and after. It just makes the lines a little crisper. I might do it one more time. I can't go too much, otherwise it's starting to look a little bad, but right? Sorry. Okay. So I think that's going to be fine. View 100%. So that's what it was before. A little bit more and a little more. I think so. Again, I'm also going to be putting some texture on here, some like a film grain. So that I think looks good. Okay. Lock the lines. Good practices. Now, the nice thing about flatting is I don't have to worry about getting the most picture perfect, spot on color just yet. I feel like there's a term like go for half or whatever it's called. Okay. So I'm going to just, I might just kind of grab some not arbitrary, but like some grays for now. Also, I'm trying to remember, I think in the past I have divided flats up on different layers, but I'm going to start by keeping it on the same layer. Oh my goodness, it's been so long, I don't even know. All right, so anyways, magic wand. What I typically do is I do select my lines layer and I'll just click everything outside of it. And what that does is it creates a selection. If you can kind of see it, you see the little marching ants on the outside. But if I were to just start coloring this, oops, let's go like green, then row, there's that nasty little garbage white line again. So I actually want to expand my selection a little bit, usually by a few pixels. So Photoshop, you can go in and modify, expand by a few pixels, and I can do that here. But Clip Studio has the ability, where is it? Here we go. Area scaling right down here. So that's 5 pixels. Oops. So that's kind of a lot. I probably don't need that much. See how it expands that selection. We are going to expand it to 4. Maybe. This is a nice thick line. Let's see how okay, so it's kind of hit in the middle. I want it to hit the middle, right smack dab underneath the line. The best chance of it not peeking out. And of course, I'm going to go in and like fix and clean it up and all that jazz. And I think that's going to be pretty good. And even before I get to that point, I'm going to kind of grab just a bluey gray. There we go. So let's just add this as the initial color. You know what? No, I'm going to make a new background this color right now. Okay. And we're going to make this be kind of we're going to make this all one color for now, and then we're going to break it up like a pie, just cut it down in little pieces. Okay. Okay, so, all right, and there's another feature that Clip Studio has. I'm going to show you. So see how I'm trying to now select everything around the space station and the astronauts. This selection applies to connected pixels only, so it won't hit everything. If I click this button and do this again, it slugs everything. That's not lying. By the way, I can still have this layer selected and have it locked. So I'm still working on this layer, but I can't actually make any edits or changes to it. So anyways, I don't want that. So I'll select this here. So I have to basically go around and select and add to this selection. But you'll notice like, oh, whoops, it got part of his little backpack thing. So if I were to color that, Yeah, or like maybe I'm trying to color the background a darker color, show like that. It accidentally got the backpack too. So the cool thing with this selection is I can change to close gap. So it sees a little gap here and it will know, like it's open by a pixel or two, whatever. It will know to close that gap. So select the lines layer, see? And you can set the width of gaps to treat as closed. That's what it says there. So if it's like a bigger gap, you can increase that and it will close that gap. If it's a little one like this, then it doesn't need a whole lot to close it. So that's actually really cool. But see, this gap was not big enough. Let's try, if I were to close it, next one up. Okay, yeah, so close that gap. Cool. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to select everything that isn't the space station or the astronauts, because that is fewer parts to select than if I were to try and select everything inside the space station. There's like hundreds of little enclosed areas and all this detail. So I'm going for the simplest thing, and then I'm just going to select inverse. So, and oh, interesting. Whoa, I don't know what's going on. I'll tell you in a second. What? Okay, so typically, if I want to add a selected area, I have to hold shift and then click. So see how I'm like adding to my selection, but for whatever reason, I don't even have to hold it. And it adds to the selection. So I must have something. New selection. Oh, because it's right there. It says add to selection. That's nifty. I didn't know that. Cool, serious, pretty cool. All right. Wow. So I literally can just bing, bing. It feels so weird not adding shift, because if I changed it and then click there, the rest of the selections go away and only that gets selected. So, wow, I'm not you. This feels so weird. All right. I'm just gonna, I feel like it should be, go in and la, 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 la. And I will in the areas where there's still some of that artifacty, pixely goodness, grossness, it does kind of affect, see how it doesn't go all the way to the corner. Excuse me. So I'm going to press shift and add that. Bless me. Excuse-moi. Yeah, so here I didn't quite get it. I'm going to press shift, and then I'm using my lasso tool. Again, it's configured to my gaming pad, so it really makes it so much faster. And now my brain knows exactly what to do. It took me a little while in the beginning to kind of figure out step by step. Boop. And there might be a faster way of doing this, but I am always learning new tricks. And so, you can see some of these lines. They're a little you can see that. They're not like a perfect, beautiful line if I took just the polygonal lasso tool. But you know what? At the end of the day, that doesn't matter. And if I'm going to have that much color shift going on in the printer, then I need to have a chat with my printer. So, printer as in I send out my books to get printed. I do not print them here, just for clarification. But oops, I still will use my polygonal tool for these areas. Oh, don't want to move that. I'm going to definitely have to come back, fix some of this later. Yeah, it's corners. There's probably a trick for that now to get into these little corner areas. It's probably a button that I don't even know exists yet. But let's Sniff, sniff. Now where's, oh, okay, that's the outside. So I'll grab that. Yeah, so that's the nice thing about doing the magic wand tool is I don't have to then spend all this time going over the polygonal lasso and tracing everything. It makes it a lot faster, and I don't feel like I see a lot of artists do that. I mean, maybe they do now. This was again like 3 years ago, but like, is there something wrong with this technique? Is that why people don't use it? But I feel like it makes it a lot faster. So I don't know. Now, I probably actually don't even have to go this deep because it's totally off the page. Ugh, but the OCD says you must. Okay, just briefly. Okay. All right. And I can also deselect areas if I just have to press whatever I configure that key to. I also realize that because I didn't make that line there, a lot of this. And I'll fix that later. Oh yeah, I can turn my screen around, which is nice. Okay. Just quickly grab these two because they'll bother me like nothing else. Okay, that should be good enough. Just like that. There we go. Excuse me. Oh, that's right. It's so weird to be able to not have to press that button. Add that, and I'm going to go in and kind of refine them all. I'm actually pretty close, so oh yeah, I don't have to do that. Wait, yeah, I have to hold that. Okay, never mind. So as you could tell, I'm not working on a Cintiq because otherwise I'd be looking down. But I'm working on my little Wacom Intuos. I don't know. It's not Intuos. Intuos is like long gone. It's something now. I feel like they change it every month. So it's a Wacom tablet and it's small, but it does job. And maybe one day I'll get a Cintiq, but it wasn't, I don't know. I feel like this was fine. And admittedly, I feel like I have much better posture for this. And if we're talking about like art that I'm going to be working on for years, I want something that has better longevity. Also, speaking of which, oh, hello, wrong way. There we go. I'm going to show, I'm probably going to stand up here in a minute because I have a special tool that is also good for health and posture. All right, you ready for this? Let's raise the bar. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's been about an hour, so it's time to stand for a little bit. Stretch the legs. I love my standing desk. I love it so much. It's so great. Oh, but my feet are cold, so I'm going to put on my slippers. There we go. Much better. And clean it. Excuse me, pardon me. Okay. She can stand too. All right. All right, so it's getting selected. I know this is the most riveting, exciting job ever. But I gotta say, flatting is a little bit like candy to the brain because it's so, you have to think. I mean, you are thinking, but it's kind of soothing. I love it. Boop. You know, I also realize, so I'm making my selections and I'm realizing it's like, oops, I don't want to add text. Come on, let's go buttons. So like this little, it's kind of making these weird little bumps here. Let me try tolerance down here, it's not very tolerant. So tolerance means that, at least to my understanding and how I've used it, how tolerant is the ability of the lasso. So like if you want it really tolerant, like it will select everything. Yeah, come on to the party. Hey, let's hang out. If it's like not very tolerant, so like the lower the number, it's like only this kind of pixels can be invited to the party. That was like A+ description of that. So hopefully got something out of it. But anyways, tolerance is set to 15. It's kind of not, it's rather intolerant. So that's why I'm wondering if it's not liking like those pixels or these pixels. So what we're going to do, I'm going to raise the tolerance to, let's just say 32. Select, a lot better. So instead of being so nitpicky about like, I think it was like it thought this pixel was a little too dark, so it didn't select it. But now it's kind of more like, yeah, we're a little more cash. So let's invite more people to the party. Okay, so the corners still needed a little help, but like if it's, so that's 32, and I don't know why 32. I just remember like seeing that in Photoshop as like the baseline, and it seems to work. But let's just say it's so tolerant. Let's put up to like 86. I don't know. Okay, that does okay, but see now how my line is, oops, kind of skirting a little close to the edge. It's a little too invitational. So I'm going to bump it back down to 32. Well, I guess it's about the same. So maybe it's okay. All right. Okay, where am I? I'm also, I'll come fix this. Yeah, so it has this part selected too. I guess it's fine. I don't remember. I'm going to have to go back later and check to see what areas are see-through. I think this is see-through in this too. Maybe? Yeah, sure. We'll try it. Okay. Okay, all that's selected. Yeah, I'll go back later and be like, whoops, like missed that. Oh, interesting. I have a little bit of white there. Oh, that must have been, okay, I put that in by accident. Like, how did you get there? Just gonna, oh, I can't do that. I'll get rid of it later. Okay. All right. Oh, and nope, that's good. Okay. That's good. Everything here should be solid colors. All the way up there looks good. This guy does have a few windows. Let's pop those in, pop these in. Ish. Yeah, okay. All right. And then, it is going to be so much fun. Look at all the windows. There's so many of them. And I might not worry too much. It probably is a perfectionist trait to want to hit all those little corners. Oh, man, this is going to make me go cross-eyed. Yeah, I'll have to double check this later, but whatever. Well, it's actually not too bad. Again, with with all these little tools, it just makes it delightful. Yeah, I'm not going to worry too much. If it shows up later, then I can fix it. It's very forgiving. Okay, I think that's a window. Grabbing them all. I said I was only going to go for an hour-ish, but it has already been an hour. Maybe. Like a little whack-a-mole. I'll have to do some correction. Good. Now, yes, there are programs for flatting or like a little tricks there. I mean, again, this was so long ago, like 4 years ago. There's like it's even an online converter. Like you upload your art as the black and white, and then it like auto flats it for you. But the problem I didn't like about that feature, or maybe it's just the one I use, is it fills in every little enclosed area with a different color. And it was just so kaleidoscopic to work with. It was just very hard to work with. And yeah, so I don't know. I didn't really care much for that. It also didn't close any gaps. So I felt like I was doing almost the same amount of work just trying to fix all the colors. And couldn't you imagine having to, like, if all of these little gaps here, I'm going to hide my lines for a second. No. Where, let's just say they were all filled in with a different color. That means I have to go in and literally hand select with a magic wand all those little pieces and then like fill them in. Like this is the color of an astronaut. Oh, that sounds awful. Don't want to do that. Okay. Oh, by the way, that was just me hiding my lines. So I have a button that can hide my lines and bring them back. Sometimes it's nice because it can be like distracting from like, I don't want to see the marching ants while I color, so I just hide them, and yet they're still there. I just don't have to look at them. Okay. I think I won. My goodness, I'm actually getting pretty close. And that. Okay. Maybe this. You know what? We're going to leave that for now. Okay. Paula, I think we got it. So yeah, down here, I'm going to have to redo it a little bit. But for now, for simplicity's sake and for the live stream, I'm just going to do it this way. Okay, so I have my selection. Ooh, and I just remembered this tiny detail. Like, there it is. Yeah. Because that would have made such a big difference. Okay. I have the background selected. So everything that is not a space station or an astronaut. Control-Shift-I. That's for Windows. For Mac, it's something like that. Command-Shift-I. Now I select my flats. And I'm going to give it, I don't know, like it doesn't really matter right now too much. I'm just going to give it a color. Boop. There it is. And if you were to look at that without the lines, you just got to fill it in. Cool. So I can see a little bit here and there. And now I don't need those lines anymore because I have my flats. So if I were to hide my lines, I have this really cool cutaway. Yeah. And all these pixels, again, are perfectly aliased. It's just the way I like them. There's a little bit of that stuff here. I'm not too worried about that. Oh, if it does show, though, I will grab my alias eraser and just boop. So like, yeah, here I missed this. And I can actually do that and delete it or cut the pixels. But yeah, at this point now, it's kind of like making sure there's nothing peeking out too much. Okay, and I'm not going to be too worried about if the little grittiness does become an issue, then I can take more time to erase it. And admittedly, I know this is even probably nitpicky, is like all these little pixels right now, but it's fine. I mean, it's going pretty fast, so. But if I select my lines, that goes nice and fast, and I like that. Okay. And so I'm just going to finish. Well, I'll finish this up a little bit and I'll explain what I'm going to do. And we'll see. I might not do probably all of the flats, but at least it gets started. Sometimes I can just, if I want to get a whole line, well, I don't have a good example really to show you. I'm just going to show you a little feature, but it's all good. Big bada boom, big bada boom. Looking good. Seems to be like this area probably has the most, but man, I'm, just about done. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to cut those pixels, which sometimes I kind of treat as a delete because I just don't have to paste them, and then usually I'll copy something else, and I don't have a delete queued to my little gaming pad because I don't need to. All right, well, look at that. So beautiful. There's the frame. So, all right. So what I would do now, I'm probably just going to keep all the flats on one layer. I think that's what I ended up doing, is just keeping them all on one layer. This is what we can do. We are going to separate the astronauts from the space station. And so now I do remember why sometimes I have my flats on different layers. So for instance, it's more like if I had the lines for the astronauts also on a different layer, and then I had like a space station with lines on it and colors, and I wasn't quite sure about the position of the astronauts, I could then like pick up the astronauts and move them around a bit, but I'm confident about where I want them to be. So that's what all my flats are going to be on the same layer right now. Okay, so how do I do this? We're going to go ahead. I'm going to select the astronauts, but I'll color the background a darker gray. I'm trying to remember the best way of doing this. At this point, I might be using my lasso tool a little more because see, there's so many like little pieces of enclosed area that I do have to go in and make sure I select. So this is we'll try it a little bit. Yeah, but I think this is going to be a case for, oh, really want to close that gap. Come on. Oh, you have to put on strongest? Okay, finally I put it on strongest close gap, and now close that little gap down by the foot. Yeah, so otherwise I have to spend all this time going boop, 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 like selecting it all. So this is where actually it comes in a little faster. And I'm just going to start from the top and just trace the outline, because that way, in this case, I don't have to spend all my time making sure every little thing is selected. So I guess for me, my rule of thumb is if there's a ton of detail and I need to select it, I'll use a version of the magic wand. And if there is not a lot of detail, I will typically use I said that wrong. I will typically use the lasso tool if there's a lot of detail. If there's not a lot of detail, I'll use the magic wand. And usually I'm using a combination of one of those things. Okay. So it's kind of methodical. The other thing too is I try not to go too big of a selection, and big as in like not spatially big, but like too many little anchor points. And here's why. So I'm kind of taking chunks out of it. And I'll show you why I'm not caring about that right now. Is I've learned before after press shift hold, okay, and it will add it. So if I'm like doing all this detail, I'm going all around, let's just say I pretend I'm getting all this rope, I'm going and spending all this time here. And then if I accidentally double click before I was ready, then it closes the selection and it messes up my selections. So it's better to take little bites out of a selection and trying to get it all in one shot, because inevitably you will make that mistake. And yeah, it's like you can correct it, but it's just annoying because you're like, oh, I spent all this time. And I like doing, sorry, where'd it go? There it is. I like doing the polygonal selection tool because I can lock these little anchor points in, and I don't have to rely on my ability to trace. And I'll show you that too. So that was polygonal. And if I switch, then I'm keeping my little stylus on the page and have to very carefully trace all this. It can be done and it's fine, but like if I accidentally go too far out, or I can't quite get the line, then I have to go back and deselect those areas and kind of carve it off. So I'm gonna do like the polygonal line for this. Just trying to find the easiest way of doing things. I am zoomed in so close. Whee. Oh, and I'm going to show you why I'm also selecting the blue area. So I'll show you in a minute. Ooh. I think, oh man, I can't zoom out without closing the selection. All right. Okay, bing. All right, so the reason when I get to the end of this color, so I'm trying to separate two elements from the same color, and I'd already separated one. I always make sure, like, as soon as I, break that line, I will go out and just, select that. And let me show you an example. So essentially, let's just say we're going to color this area. Let's just do green right now. So there's green. If I were to remove the lines, I'm going to hide the marching ants. So you see that it just goes from green to blue. Okay, I know that wasn't the best explanation, but let's just say instead, if I'm like tracing this, here, we're going to do it this way. I'm going to do part of, So I'm tracing the glove, going along, and instead of like just going out like this, let's just say I went and tried to trace along the side. First of all, that's more work. Now I'm having to make a lot more clicking. I'm like, tracey, tracey, trace. All right, so I did that. Now, and I forgot to select this too. Whatever, it's fine. This is for purposes. I fill that in. It looks good, but when I remove the lines, now I have this little island, little strips of the other color that I actually would like to be all green as well. There. Yeah, so there's a difference there. So that's why, sorry, hiding everything. That's why I always select the blue, because when you go to fill it, you're only filling in, again, this is where the aliasing comes in. Oh, good. And making sure, I almost forgot, the paint bucket tool also has an anti-aliasing feature. So that also has to be checked off. It only fills in the pixels that you select and click on. And let's see what happens if I had that anti-alias. Okay, in this case, it doesn't apply, but it can cause problems down the line. All right, that was a lot of explanation for a little thing. go here. Yeah, so I think I'm going to go ahead and separate the astronauts, and I'll probably call it a good stream because there are other things I need to go work on. But it's just at least nice to say hello. And how are you? Maybe people who are here now or people who see this later. Oh, he's also holding that too. I made a video about drawing this page. No, I wasn't drawing this page. I was doing research for drawing this page, and I hadn't released it, but I might. It's a bit more of a technical video, but I was like halfway through editing it, and I was like, I don't know if I need to release this, but in other words, what that did is it did a lot. It showed all the research I was doing for these drawings. I think it's fascinating because I'm a nerd. Space nerd. There. Sound effects are not necessary, but they do help. Okay, so I know I haven't selected him, and this is super easy. I just gotta go like that. Cool. So, oh, there's so many parts. Oh, astronauts are so complicated. Something be complicated. Life's like doo-doo. I don't know the lyrics to this song. My husband's gonna be like, "Are you kidding me?" I feel like he knows like every Avril song, right? That's Avril. Yeah. Yeah. Been so long. Okay. It's looking good. All right. So many little pieces. Yeah, so while I was drawing this, I was doing a lot of research because I think I love astronomy. Sorry, just looked over and I see Punk Moth making like a laughing face. I couldn't tell if that was there before, if it was me in karaoke time. There we go. Feel free to laugh. Okay. Boy, I don't know what I was talking about. I can tell when I am like working all week on something in like relative obscurity. And then during the live stream, I'm like, talk, people, yay! I guess I'm more of an extrovert than I realized. All right. The term is outgoing introvert. Yes, it's a thing. You can be outgoing. It just means that if I am exhausted and tired and totally spent, I need to recharge by myself and not interacting with people, because people can be draining for me. Good, just draining. So, whereas my husband, he's an extrovert, so being around people like energizes him. And that's how he kind of like finds his rest. Although it's interesting, after being married for a while, we find that like we kind of share, like we're kind of becoming more like each other's personality type. So I've become more extroverted and he's become a little more introverted. So it's always kind of funny. Okay, you know what? Where am I? Oh, okay, good. Let's try, whoops. I'm just going to try selecting a couple because now I'm bored. Okay, see, this is not too much. This is working. I can do that. Oh, can't do that. Do a little bit both. But again, I want to make sure I knew something was wrong. It's kind of nice to know, like having done this enough, I have a bit of an intuition. It's like, something's not right here. I have put my line right on the edge of the blue and I want to actually overlap that. Here too. All right. Where else have I done it? Oh, I need to do it all over here. So, boop. Okay. And actually, just go like that because that's a boot. I'm just going to check it really fast. Hide my lines. Make them spastic green. Okay, that is looking good. And yes, that is actually part of his suit. Good. Wait, why didn't you join the part? Oh, sorry. All right, so that's there. Now I just have his little buddy old friend. And I'm not being super perfection-y about it. Although this probably is, according to me, I'm not being a perfectionist about it, but I probably am. Gosh, that's the hardest. I feel like that's the hardest thing. Like over the last decade, is it's not learning how to do art. I mean, that is tricky, learning the skills, but it's that relinquishing of trying to perfect something. Oh, that is hard because I mean, we are taught at an early age that we want to make things as good as we can possibly get it to go. Also, just I'm going to point out here. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but I'm pointing to my screen as if you could see it. Okay, I'll use my cursor. So I started like here, I went around the boot, up and around, and I was going to continue my way over here, but I noticed that I've already done a pretty big commitment, and if I like accidentally double click over here, it's going to screw up a lot of my progress made. So I'm going to actually close off this first. Okay. There we go. And then I can just kind of go at it piece by piece. But yeah, anyways, I mean, when we're young, it's like we got to make a piece of art that's like the best way it can possibly be. And yes, that's good. We want to improve and make things better. But then it's that ability to know like what's better and what is non-essential. And there's definitely no roadmap to that. But it's kind of another intuition thing. Like you kind of know. And a lot of it is another factor is just time. It just takes time to make art, to do anything. And, we have limited amount of time. So what do you want to spend it on? And it's kind of like a budget, everything costs money in life and everything costs time in life. Wow, this is getting really deep here. Man, you're getting your full $5 worth out of this. Yeah, if you didn't know, you actually got charged $5 to have your credit card number and it like auto charge when you junk it. Just kidding. I'm not that savvy. Not that savvy of an internet person. Also not that trickstery. Let's go that way. And this will need some fixing later too. Let's see, go up here, up and around. Cool. Yeah, I don't care about that line right now. Sorry, line. And I think is that supposed to be part of it? I'm trying to remember what this is. Is it part of the ISS or it's going to be part of you for now. I think that's one thing excuse me. Oh, let's get some water. That's one thing I'm trying to get better at is one of my reasons to resist doing my lines traditionally at first was they're not perfect and clean and look like every time when you scan them in, they look good on paper. And when you scan them in, it kind of like records all this like pixel garbage, and it's like, ugh, looks awful. But you know, it's not going to be seen, and it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if it's really visual, then you clean it up a bit. But I'm working to become more relaxed in those areas. And it's hard, and I'll get there, and I'll continue to improve. But I consider this a little win. And I actually do think it makes it a little bit more relaxed looking in some ways, not these perfect lines. Okay. In there. Click, 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 bing. That might be it. I just saw that needs to get deleted later. I think this might be it for the astronauts. Okay, but I like this color right now for the astronauts. It's not going to be the perfect color, but I can fix it later. So I just want to color everything that's on an astronaut now. I'm taking the pie, I'm like cutting it down, dividing it into smaller pieces. So I'm going to Control-Shift-I. I have my lines selected right now, but they're locked, so I can't color them by accident. So now I have my flat selected. And for simplicity, I'm just going to choose that same color and go a little darker for now. I'll hide my lines, so they're still there, but just hidden. And go boop. Pretty cool. And I'm going to make this just a little darker so we can see it. Womp, womp, womp. What happened? Oh, snappers. Wait, oh, because I still have the selection on. It's like, what's going on? I gave you all this instruction thinking it was correct. Oh, whew. All right, so now I can deselect that. And now I can take, and because this is the background, this is completely separate from my flats or my lines. So, oh, a little mini heart attack there. Okay. Hey, it's coming together. Only like 500 more pieces to flat. Yay. But that's the start. And so after this, I will look at my reference images. I like going from the biggest areas to the next, like this, a little smaller and so a little smaller. So then that's kind of the big main subjects. And then next I'm going to work on probably these panels. And I'm going to try not to like make everything like its own unique color shade. Like I'm practicing taking groupings of details and keeping it a little bit the same color. We'll see. This one is, I mean, it's been a while since I've done this, so I might be playing around a bit. But essentially I will color the rest of the components. I still need to add the earth in. And then once I have my flats, I can go in and shade everything. And usually what I will kind of do first is a very rough mock-up to show like, okay, now that I'm going to shade it, where do I want my light to come from? Do I want the shadows to fall this way or that way? Where are my light sources? And there's a little bit of breaking of the rules that I can do with that. If this was actually in space and you had, here, I'll pull up. So if you had like, you know, the earth below and the sun, like where's the sun? Is the sun on this side? I'm probably gonna have like my lighting, again, I'm like showing you as if you can see it from my angle. I'm probably gonna have like the lighting coming down on this side, the sunlight hitting and kind of keeping the shading sort of in like a bottom left portion of these subjects. I'll probably keep all this bottom part in shading and just figuring out like the highlights because anything that's lit is going to be highlighted. So I want to make sure that the most important parts are really these two astronauts and some of the ship, but the rest can kind of fade the background a bit. So yeah, exciting. So we just went for almost 2 hours. Let me take that off. Look at all this work for almost 2 hours. But that's art is not an Instagram reel. It's, you get your fingers dirty, down to earth work. And we get to share the highlights with people. But I also like sharing the in-between process. I mean, especially for people who are interested in art and wanting to learn, and you get to actually see what goes on behind the scenes. At least as I'm learning, I want to see the in-between scenes. Kind of feel like that's where real life happens. So I'm trying to think of anything else to wrap this up. But I think it's been a really good live stream. I'm hoping here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say goodbye to this share screen. Ding. Yeah, I think it's been a good live stream. So hopefully the visually it looked okay and it wasn't too pixelated and the volume was okay. I'm going to find out I'm like muted the whole time. Just kidding. No, but thank you so much for joining. Hopefully I'll be doing some more of these in the future. It all just really depends on what can I do and share with people and not be too devoted to brain space wise, because I wish I could be the artist that like I can draw and not even look at it and talk, have a full conversation with you, but I need to be engaged. And so I will try to save some of these pieces to work on and hang out with. Every now and then I'll have like maybe a drawing, like a little spot drawing I can do in color. And like maybe I've done like, I don't do a lot of live drawing, because otherwise I just have to be quiet. I can't talk and draw at the same time. Those people who can are amazing. But anyways, I'm dribbling on. So thank you again for joining me. Please go check out my website, read my comic. It is free. It's 32 pages. It's called InterStella Space Angel. And this is what it looks like in print form. It's really pretty. It's really beautiful. I love it. This is introducing my character, Stella. She's a space angel, and it is her job to take care of outer space. And so what you saw me working on today, that is the main graphic novel. So this is sort of like a feature presentation just showing her. It's a teaser trailer. You get to learn about Stella. But this comic I'm working on now, like this is the main meat and potatoes. And my hope, we'll see how it goes. I don't even know. I'm trying to keep everything as open as I can these days, but is to and breaking up into 4 segments, 4 or 5-ish, maybe 6. We'll see how it turns out. But they're going to be about 30-ish pages long, and my hope is to crowdfund those individually as little floppy comics, and then compile them once they're all done as a full-length graphic novel. So it'd be nice to get that done in the next year. So we will see. We'll go from there. But thank you for joining me today. I said that like 10 times already. Really grateful you're here. And you know what? I'll see you next time. So hopefully, thank you. I see Punk Moth just mentioned. Thanks. It was fun. Catch you next stream. You guys have an amazing day, an amazing weekend. I hope that it continues to get better. And if it's already going good, it just keeps on that uphill trajectory. So have a great day, and I will catch you next time. Bye. Oh, there it goes. Bye.